Okay, now we are recording for the second meeting of the SALT Kubernetes Working Group. We are still getting started. We're looking back at some of the conversations that have been in the Slack channel, the Kate Slack channel for our SALT Stack community. And their Metal Kubernetes user, let's see. So I am looking at, do you say it's Scality? The Metal Kubernetes is part of, is it that how you say it? Scality?
I don't know if I looked that far out. I just saw like metal Kates.
It is this one here. I'll put it in the Zoom chat. It's a GitHub or called Scality Metal Kates discussions. And this is our Kubernetes objects deployed in Metal Kates or Metal Kubernetes based on the question sent to the mailing list by Tanic. I guess I'm going to say that incorrectly. I'm just going to pronounce things incorrectly all day. I obviously need more coffee. I'll work on that. But this is interesting about what they're doing. Like you said, because I think they're much more advanced and doing some things really quite differently than what we're doing. It'd be good to learn because they are using some states. This is a state definition which uses a custom state. Metal Kates _ Kubernetes.object _ present is also implemented in Metal Kates, though again, not Metal Kates specific. In the SALT states Metal Kates _ Kubernetes.py. This is similar functions available in Kubernetes state as shipped with SALT Stack. However, since we ran into maintenance issues with the upstream state, we decided to take a completely different approach. Yeah, that's really interesting. Unlike the SALT Kubernetes states, where there are multiple functions defined for all supported object types, the expected input sometimes being different from the standard Kubernetes object structures, we built generic state functions which can take any Kubernetes object in their native structure. Oh. That's actually really interesting. I wonder if that's something we wanted to look at doing in this group for sort of just in general. You know, with some other SALT things. Is this what you were referring to, Gareth?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really interesting. This Metal Kates group, go ahead.
So they have a state module as well as like some custom state files.
Looks like it.
So I guess the state module, and if they have execution modules, those could be pulled out into an extension, and then the whatever like their states could stay in within their project if they were open to that approach.
Yeah. And this is on-prem, very interesting. Yeah, for Metal Kubernetes, that makes sense. I don't know if we should just reach out to Nicholas. and say that. He did say, it looks like we did talk about the extensions a little bit with him and gave him the overview link. But we also have, it seems like we also have some documentation too, since we did that overview. Did we actually get any of that documentation into our repo? Or did we get a gist or anything?
Sorry,
don't know that
what
we-
documentation? were
For
you talking
salt
about?
extensions, for the salt extensions like,
Oh.
tool.
Yeah, I think that's still a work in progress.
Is it? Okay. Did Pedro do a PR or anything? Or did he? I don't know that he did.
For the documentation?
Yeah,
No, not yet.
he was supposed to. I was even like, you could just update the README even in the salt extensions, like the tool repo. Maybe he did do that. Let me look. There's the salt extensions index. Because he had some stuff out on, it wasn't read the docs. Oh, for crying out loud, I can't remember. I'm gonna have to ask him again. I feel like I ask him this all the time and I'm like, why can't I remember this? It's because it's not somewhere that I can like reference it. It's just in Pedro's head. Okay, well, here's the tool. I'm gonna put this in here in the conversation as well. Here is the repo of the salt extensions tool to use to make a new extension. I swear he had more out here too. In this index, I thought he had a link to his documentation, but I don't see it. Dang it. Let me ask him really quickly. If he's around. Do you know of any anything else, any other work, Gareth, that needs to be done, like a specific updates to any of those Kubernetes execution modules or anything?
There was one thing I had run into a couple months ago, but I can't remember what it was specifically. I think a lot of it is just updating it per any API changes. That's most of it.
Should
And probably in tests. There's very
And
little
tests.
tests.
That's true. We could do with the way that PyTest is and the way that we've gone, we could set up to put in some tests on that board and then use the PyTest to really expand it.
Yeah.
Like what you did with the MySQL tests would be really cool. Maybe we could even do, we could start linking to some of that stuff there, and that would give me a good place to start some sort of hub for that.
I was gonna say, like, the tests are kind of, that's a little, we can write like, we could write unit tests to test like basic functionality, but writing integration tests is a little more complicated with like a bigger system, like, or even functional tests with like a bigger system like Kubernetes.
It's true. We'd probably need to think about that a little more thoroughly, but we could at least get some coverage in place, which is better than nothing.
Mhm.
Let me add a card. Add unit tests for test. Okay. I can type. Okay, I asked Pedro. I will see if I can find out there. I think that we could even pull in to this board for some asynchronous work that we know that needs to be done. Anything that is labeled as Kubernetes. I think we have a Kate's label and at least the salt repository, probably in some others as well. And I could get it into some others as needed. I don't know that we would have it in other repositories necessarily, like that there would be other issues, maybe, but definitely here. But I don't know that there's many. Yeah, there's one. And it's probably just one that's labeled, but we probably need to label more. And we could even write some up if we know some specifics as well. Like you were saying, some of those you'd run into something in the past. And so as we see those, maybe we just write issues and get them in the backlog. And then, so I have, go ahead.
Oh no, I was I was agreeing with you, and then I realized
okay.
that I was muted. So I said like, "Oh, I'm muted," and I unmuted myself like mid comments about me muted.
No wonder I couldn't understand. I was like, what? What? So I have a label out there that's Kate's modules, but we could also make other labels that's not just the Kate's modules, but other things as well. Like Kubernetes working group or anything, we could make some labels like that to say, hey, this isn't just Kubernetes, but it's Kubernetes and salt or whatever, and love some help getting some of these bugs fixed, just for some asynchronous work. And then we could also write some issues of things that we run into so that we could get on that board. Hi, Carl, how are you?
Hi guys, I'm good. How are you? Sorry for being late. I had to pick up my glasses, so I'm getting
No
old.
worries. Sometimes there's life beyond work, like, you know, most of the time.
Right, that's correct. Yeah.
Right.
So, and you are so lonely, no community, no guys from the community joined.
There was a community member here that came last time too, Steve, and he's interested in this group. He uses Kubernetes. He doesn't use a ton of salt, but has a coworker that does. But he was only able to stay for a little while, said he was in line for his vaccination. So I
Oh,
expected
okay.
him to drop off.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But I know you actually had some really good ideas about Kubernetes stuff that we'd talked about. And maybe we can write some of that down. I did create a board, a project board at the org level, so that we could get some Kubernetes stuff together.
Okay. What is the general plan for the Kubernetes? Is it like, should we support it in Salt itself, or it goes into extensions in the future? What is the general approach?
Yeah,
Or
both. I think it kind of depends, because there's definitely been some talk in the community, Kate's channel, about that metal Kubernetes project where they're using Kubernetes and Salt together. And it sounds like that would be a really good Salt extension for them to use. But then we do have some modules that currently exist in the code base that I know we've run into some issues in the past that we probably need to write them down exactly what they are. And Gareth, you were saying it was a lot more about like API calls and
Yeah, yeah. Just, I mean, my experience, like it just like I think I'd said in the first Kubernetes working group meeting and in the meetup that we did, just like a lot of where those modules are right now is just there's a lot of missing. The API has advanced and changed and gotten added to, but the modules in Salt currently just haven't kept up with it.
yeah, I agree. That's true.
and so if we even just take that one piece where we talk about that, if we wanted to write that into a card on the board and say we know that this isn't kept up here, here, and here, that's somewhere to start. Do you guys want to do that today, or you want to look at something else?
I mean, I don't know if we'll be able to see like everything that's missing today.
Sure.
I think it's like more of, like probably first steps would be to go through and identify what's in the API, what calls are available there, what's like any corresponding salt functions, like if there's one missing.
Okay.
Yeah, I can look into that more closely.
Okay.
Maybe we can add something more interesting things.
Okay. I will update this project board. It's just a generic board right now. And kind of give some detail about how to use it.
Yeah, what I see right now in the Kubernetes mod as a module, it's just not a lot of things are implemented. It's mainly show functions to show any configurations. Okay, add great namespace or like great deployment. So really basic functionality, which we might probably enhance one day.
Okay.
Or maybe we can like take Kubernetes functionalities, like, I don't know, security things and then create a separate module out of it to support like feature things of Kubernetes, like module for deployment, module for namespace, module for config maps, something like that. In this case, we can really enhance the functionality of each module and create more things instead of like putting everything into one file, into one module.
Okay.
But I think in this case, we might go into extensions, salt extensions direction.
That's a good idea. We could do, I don't know how many we have or how many we would think we would want to create, but we could, I could request a new repo specifically for these extensions to say that this is what they are.
Mhm.
And at least get that going. And I will do that.
Yeah, this. So what do we have files?
Oops. I can spell Kubernetes.
Here, maybe a module or extension for Kubernetes maintenance. For example, to upgrade the VMs or the nodes, you have to put the individual node into maintenance mode first, and then you upgrade it, and then you join it into the cluster, back into the cluster. And we are missing these features yet, so maybe. Do you know if we have at VMware, if we have any group or any department who is responsible for Kubernetes as a service inside of VMware?
That's a good question. It's large. It's a large group of people that I don't know if it's one group, but I think it's many.
Because this is like not it's pretty distributed across VMware, and there is no centralized like Kubernetes as a service, right?
Right.
So
and
at least what we had at IBM in the early days. So we had one group of people, like 30, 40 people who are responsible only for Kubernetes inside of IBM. So because in this case, this group of people might be like testing guys, right? So they might like test individual extensions for us or like help with some ideas or features.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes back to one of the questions I asked again during the first meeting as well as the meetup. Like, what are people interested in doing with Salt and Kubernetes? Like, where do they see the use case of it?
Yeah.
And based on I think it was the meetup, based on that, it seemed like it was still a pretty broad topic. People have all sorts of different use cases they'd like to see.
Mm-hmm. And maybe what we could ask for is just simply ideas in that board of some functionality that people are looking for. I think that's a great way to go. Those could be written as issues if that's easiest. Be fine with that.
Right. So I've heard some people would like to have Salt inside of Kubernetes. Some would like to manage Kubernetes with the Salt, and this is like everyone has different view. And different goal.
Yeah, that's true, and it's nice Salt stack hat.
Yeah,
it's cool. And I think that's fine. I think we see a lot more people using Salt outside of Kubernetes, not within it, and that's fine. I think both can exist. I think that's just what we see more of us personally, but that doesn't mean that that's limited in that way. It's just what we know. Yeah. Yeah, and Steve, do you have, you use Kubernetes a lot and you have a coworker that uses Salt, but do you guys use it more like Salt to run stuff, or it's because it's not inside, right? Or
No. So what we did, we actually both started the Salt Stack initiative, and then I left and we started doing cloud, and then out of that then came the natural cloud Kubernetes stuff. No, I what I've seen people do typically is use Salt Stack to go ahead and assemble, Kubernetes the hard way. And then from that point, where I've had issues is with deploying my Helm charts and, a few other things. It hasn't been terrible, but I could definitely see I could see where it could go, which is the reason why I'm on the site. Yeah, I know that you have all these different types of groups. You got teams that are deploying OpenShift and PKS and from Metal and all that kind of stuff. So obviously with VMware being where it is now, I could see where that could potentially go, but from go deploy my application as a workflow from like VRA, that could be a huge potential right there. But yeah, I'm not using Salt Stack to go ahead and deploy my Kubernetes applications today.
Sure.
But see.
Yeah, I was interested to hear from some of the people that were using Salt to deploy things, but that seems to be fewer people, which is fine. It could do it. So I think that if there's people that want to make that happen, I think we could put it together. It'd be really good to have a good use case that we could be like, well, what about if we did this? And
I'll give you one. Because I've had, just on basic principle. Obviously today there is the Kubernetes the hard way Salt Stack formula type of thing. But in addition to that, you have all this CNCF native, or CNCF sponsored tooling. So tools like Envoy, I believe Istio just got in there. You have this framework that they provide you that you could build an entire platform that's full open source. So that might be something that is worth checking out, because obviously you have the build side and then you have the assemble side of building the platform, and then you can say like, here, go deploy your application via this mechanism via Salt Stack. So
that'd be cool. Carl, it seems like we talked about some other things too that were more like as a service stuff, but I don't remember now. I need more coffee this morning. That's what today is about. Forgive me. The I wanted to review what we talked about in the meetup a little bit, because I remember that Nick Hughes had a couple of really interesting things to say too, and I wanted to capture those, but I haven't had time to do that yet. It seems like I'm on top of myself. Like this came up today and I was like, didn't we just meet? Huh, has it really been a month? Really? Oh, well, we had the meetup, so it was just not that long ago. So it feels like it's not been very much time. Do you remember anything from that, Gareth?
Sorry, what was that?
Anything from the meetup that came out of the meetup that we would wanted to bring into this working group? I wanted to review it before this meeting, but I didn't have a chance.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess the biggest thing would be what, when I posed the question of like what people wanted to do as far as Salt and Kubernetes, like that was not thinking like it was, well, I guess me thinking it was one specific thing like that people would want to do, or like a couple of specific things, but it was essentially like all the things.
Yeah, that seems harder.
Yeah,
It's harder to narrow that focus sometimes because of it's two really like broad scopes coming together. And so it's like, well, where do we start fitting this in? And so maybe we do need to define something that's even more specific than like, that's why I thought it would be good if we went through some of the modules too. And we could say, even if we look at like the Salt Kubernetes mod.py and we see what it's missing and things that we think are beyond the basics, that we could even add to that. And then maybe that would give us a couple of ideas of how we could start breaking that out into modules and do some really specific work between the two. So maybe we just start there and we start defining those. I will even take a task to, so I'll get a Salt extensions repo so that we can pull some of that stuff into that repo and iterate on it, and get it connected with that project board. I'll make that project board a little bit more asynchronously user-friendly so that it's a little more obvious and get some more issues and cards up there. And maybe we could meet very asynchronously on the channel to just say, hey, this is what we're looking at. This is where things are. What are some ideas that we could add to this card or this issue that are not currently in these couple of modules today, that are just beyond the basics, and just get some ideas and get those in the board to work on. And then we can come back next time and see how far we've gotten. Does that sound good?
yeah.
Okay. We'll start with that then. I'll put some more details in the channel, see if I can find some more. It looks like Pedro doesn't have that stuff on Salt extensions. I think I was confusing it with PyTest and PyTest factories, where he does have some more docs. We need to think about the documentation for Salt extensions, I guess. So I'll do that on the side too. Maybe
Yeah,
you
the
guys
more and more we reference it, the better it would be to have that out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to get that, but I'm thinking it may involve bribes to Pedro. I'm not sure. I'll consider that. I'm not sure. Bribe him with, I don't know, what's something Pedro would want. He's in Portugal. I feel like he gets all the good stuff. He gets sunshine and beaches and good vodka. I mean, I can't give him anything he doesn't get. To think about this. It must exist. I just don't know what it is. I'm gonna figure it out.
I'm sure there's something. I'm sure there's something
sure
he doesn't have easy access to.
I can tell him he can come stay here at my beach. I don't know. That's all I got. He can bring his kids. It'll be fun. I don't know.
He might take you up on that.
He might. That'd be kind of fun. All right. Well, I'll do a little bit more work on that and see if we can get some ideas from the channel too asynchronously before next month, and we'll meet again. Thanks, everybody. We'll
Sounds
see you
good.
next time.
I do got a
Bye.
question before we break. Which I just logged into my Slack account because I never do. Which
Sure.
Salt Stack community are you guys messaging on?
It is saltstack community, one word, .slack.com, and it's in the Kate's channel, K8S.
I could have sworn I just went into that one, but I didn't see any chat. I'll find it.
Yeah,
Sure.
I can even give you a link. Hang on.
Oh, yeah, that works even better.
That's the link to the channel. It's in the Zoom chat. That should
Thank you
give you
so
a
much.
direct link.
Yeah, I gotta start talking to you guys more regularly.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Welcome. See you guys.